Sorry for almost canceling this meeting. Once we had our
Sorry,
subcommittee and
Karen,
realized,
well, it's just up to my neck in alligators.
hi Bruce. Yes, I'm glad everyone was able to meet. We did end up with an action item and we didn't want to delay it for an entire month. So thanks for being here, everyone.
All right.
I do have a note before we get started from Pat. I think I see him here, but he did give a note that he would be needing to leave the meeting at 5:20 today, just to keep that in mind. I don't want to drop under a quorum.
Okay,
We're pretty good now.
I guess we're going to call the meeting to order. Has everybody had the opportunity to review the January 19th, 2022 minutes?
I can pull them up if anyone needs.
I looked at them, don't see anything I need to change.
Not it.
They were an attachment with the meeting announcement.
Maybe I didn't pull them up. Here's the agenda.
Everybody has them as an attachment. They hopefully have on their computer.
I have a motion to accept the meetings as written.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Sarandon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sandra seconds it.
Was that
Process
Sandra?
suggestion.
Yes, sir.
I would like to suggest that under a given heading, when we cover more than one topic, we start a new paragraph. Because I just tried to make sense of two topics, thinking they were all one idea, only to eventually realize, no, that's not what happened. So I'd like to encourage that, please. Not to be, retro done this time, but just in the future.
Makes sense.
Any objections? Karen, is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you. Will do.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second by I believe it's Sandra, correct?
That's correct.
All in favor?
Aaron, I just have a quick question. Aaron, you typically list the attendees. Has that practice been discontinued?
Can you say that again? Listing attendees?
Yeah, in the minutes, perhaps I'm wrong, but my recollection is that in the minutes you typically include a line for those members who attended.
Yes. Are those not on there? I'm so sorry. It's hard to work on this screen here.
Well, what he's asking is the non-members, aren't you, Pat, that you're asking, shouldn't the non-members in attendance be there? Because you've got the members.
No, I did not see the list of member attendees, committee member attendees and what Karen.
I thought it's on the
see it
top.
in mine.
Yeah, it's on the very top.
Yeah.
It just says attendance, so
Okay.
it's
I
just
just-
the members.
Actually,
Okay.
very often minutes list those attended and those committee members who don't attend.
Agreed.
Because very, very many places, there's reasons why you need to have both.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't see that on.
Yeah.
Flashed on the screen.
Oh,
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
This does say not in attendance, but I think it doesn't list non-committee members is what I'm seeing.
which I think it needs to.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion?
Bruce, if I could, just one comment. It is one of the challenges that we have with WebEx is we don't always see everybody that's there. So please forgive us if we miss somebody and who they are. It's really tough even to figure out who made the motion. That's why we're really trying to encourage people to say their name when they make a motion.
I just forgot when I made my motion, so thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Pete.
Mhm.
Any other discussion prior to vote? Hearing none. Should we do a roll call vote or just a aye and nay?
Well, even the people who don't have their camera on could raise a digital hand, and those who do have cameras on could just raise our hands.
Well, you're far more advanced than I am, Sarah Lynn. Thank you.
I vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
We see you.
None, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, Karen.
Yes, what we want to do is talk about the request for proposal that we plan to share with the board, and as long as everybody's good with it. So, sorry, I'm so slow on this, but I
It's the
am
third
gonna-
attachment, right?
Yes.
Yes, I want to bring it up, but I think it brought up the wrong thing. Okay, do you all see section 2 specifications?
Yes. Well,
Okay. So we have a request for proposal that we'd like to bring to the board about getting a contracted company to do a campaign, a communications and education campaign. So so in order to, when there's a request for proposal, there's a really long list of, it's like a template. And so the part that you can really edit is this section 2. Is completely up to us as to what we put in it. And it's the specifications. So I only, the full document is 22 pages, but because most of that is not really editable because it's a template, I just sent you all the section that is editable. So hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it, but we'll definitely go through it here. If you were at the residential C&D subcommittee last week, I guess it was, we did talk about it there, but we wanted to bring it to the full committee just to have that motion and make sure everybody is on in agreement that we would push this forward to the board. So we have our scope of work, and I believe that was moved, I believe, to the top after discussion at the subcommittee meeting. If everyone recalls, we wanted to make sure, at least in this section, that they're seeing, you know, what's asked first thing. So the awarded contractor shall provide an ongoing public education and outreach campaign covering a wide array of solid waste management issues, utilizing a variety of strategies which may renew over several years. So that's like the general statement. And then we have a background section, and I did add the word information just to really make it clear that this was background information. And we wanted to, whoever it is that's looking at this that might put in their bid, I guess it is, we want them to know what we're already doing and understand our mission, so that if they're interested in being this contracted group, that they already have an idea of what they're getting into. So so we have our district's mission is listed here, and a list of what we're calling our education is No Waste Louisville. So that's kind of our little tagline title of the education department. So these are the objectives and components that are already in place. And as it says, it's just to give the RFP respondents an understanding of the department. And so we have a list here of current public education and outreach objectives, and then a list of outreach components. And again, these are already in place. I added the word current there based on our conversation at the subcommittee, just to make it clear of what they're looking at.
So my comment on this right here is it's not evident unless I'm overlooking the part at the top, but are you saying that these people are supposed to supplement these resources or utilize these resources?
Maybe a little bit of both, because, you know, what we want from them is the more like a creative aspect, but also the expertise of pushing it out in targeted campaigns through social media or whatever. So for them to already know the platforms we use, I think would be helpful.
I
They
guess
could go
what I'm trying to say is, are they supposed to supervise the 2 full-time and 1, the 3 people, or, are they working in lieu of? I think I would clarify that really quickly in this document.
Well, let's go down and make sure that that is in the document, because I feel like something you might be saying is listed, but I want to make sure it
Later on.
is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so if that's what we're doing already. This is some objectives that we want from this requested campaign, and the key elements that can be part of that, in like ways that they get the message out. And it does say in this part at the bottom, these elements are representative of the tasks and activities expected to be accomplished as part of this campaign and will be modified as necessary during the term of the contract to meet the district's education and outreach needs. Not all of the above tasks are the responsibility of the selected contractor. The district reserves the right to perform any of the above mentioned duties in conjunction with the contractor as time permits. And then we have a list.
Say, as a practical matter, you probably ought to be using the word supplement or supplemental early on and drawing a clear distinction about what you want them to consider in the bid versus what's just for their information. Because I just sat on a Metro Louisville committee and reviewed the proposals they received as a result of an RFP. And there was only one who actually followed the directions. And it made me wish that I had been in on writing the directions, because clearly nobody followed them correctly but the one.
Okay, that's good to know.
And maybe all those other boilerplate pages obfuscated everything, but still.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look through these special terms and conditions. Sarah Lynn, I don't think you were at the previous subcommittee. I did share, we received an RFP kind of to look at as a model from APCD that does the Kentucky Air Education and everything. So they were kind of our model. And I know they've had a campaign for several years, so hopefully it is a good model to go by.
That or they keep hiring the same person.
The district reserves the right to modify the strategy, media mix, and budget allocations as the market and research warrants, as funding availability allows. They must be capable of adjusting and expanding the original concepts as stated, so that gives some leeway there. Let's see, I'm trying to, Sarah Lynn, your first concern, I want to make sure it's somewhere in here because I thought it was, but now I've lost my train of thought of what
Sorry.
I'm looking for.
I'll search it myself.
Okay. Yeah, so the terms give a little bit of leeway here, which is nice. I mean, what I like about it, because that I do a lot of communication and education but not at this level. And what I do like is this idea of executing contracts with media and other parties. Just that's the kind of thing that I'm not, that's not my expertise. So. We did put in to give a ballpark approximate contractor budget not to exceed 100,000.
Does that include the actual media buys or not?
Yes, it does.
I would say so.
Actually, that issue came up when we were talking, and the same question, maybe with different words, arose. So probably we do need something after the 100,000, some clause that says that.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's certainly one of the things that we would do. Anything that's proposed would have to still be approved. So it's not like this.
You could just say including XOZ, Karen.
Okay.
Another thing I would do is change your bullet points to numbers so that when the review committee is looking through the proposals and they're trying to discuss them in virtual meetings, they don't have to go the 1, 2, 3, 5th bullet point. They can go item 5.
Okay, that's a good thought. Thank you.
Good point, Sarah.
Thank you.
So I think that I'm just gonna scroll here. Okay, so the last part is required submittals. So Sarah Lynn, this might be more of what you were talking about as far as instructions, because I definitely hadn't thought ahead to the fact that they might turn in a proposal that didn't follow anything that we asked. So
It's ridiculous. They don't seem to pay any attention.
So this says, well, I don't want to read everything out loud, but you all can kind of skim through this paragraph at least. Service proposal.
One suggestion I would give is when you get to this part about what it is you want, I think I would itemize the description to correlate with the scores in the next section there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just separate
Yeah.
everything out so that they see how
Actually,
important?
that's a good idea. It would read much more easily too.
Right. Actually, you've done it. But I mean, what I would do is just put the points in behind it parenthetically, but who knows, maybe this is the boilerplate that you have to do, but
I see what you mean. I think it doesn't hurt to have it both places
yeah.
because this is part of the template here, but I think we can add it and parenthetically up here as well.
Because the experience, they get that, but the proposal's the real meat of it. And if they see it's 40%, but it's going to take some work to fill it out, it'll probably help you get a better proposal.
Yeah. Okay. This is the last little bit here as part of the evaluation criteria, and then describing who the committee consists of that we'd review. I highlighted that just, I don't remember why I highlighted it, but I guess I left a blank because I didn't know if it should be any more specific or if it maybe someone with experience, it should, staff obviously would be involved, but would maybe a representative from the advisory committee be involved in looking at those? Or How does that normally work?
Somebody from that subcommittee, eh?
Was what I was thinking. The chair and possibly another member from the subcommittee.
Okay.
Karen, you want to vote on this to take it to the board, correct?
That's correct. So if you all have, do you want me to put it, anything else you want to look at and have on the screen?
Actually,
Or-
going back to Sarah's initial concern, now that we've gone through all of it, it very possibly, I don't know how she feels now that she's read the rest, but where she's talking about, are they going to supervise the two people at the waste? It might help to put a little more, few more words there. If you were going to put any, Sarah, what would you put?
I'm thinking about that. Well, I'm a little handicapped here because I wasn't involved in the committee, but it depends on whether the whole list is separate from what you're soliciting a proposal for, but I don't think so. I think it's integrated in here. So then I would probably go behind the first bullet point and say something like, parentheses, whose time will not be included or something like that. I don't know. And maybe, does it even need to be in there?
That's where I was going. I'm not sure that it needs to be there.
I think that might be the safest approach, is just get it out. They know you've got staff overseeing this, or you wouldn't have pulled off putting a proposal together, and then you don't have the risk of confusion.
I do have a question, Karen, on the $100,000 line item. Are you guys tied to that budget from the waste district?
That's going to be part of the ask.
Mm-hmm.
An up to point, I guess, from the board, right, Pete?
So in my experience on these kind of things, if you throw a dollar amount out there, people are gonna fluff their numbers up to get to that dollar amount, whether they need to or not. If you're offering $100,000, I'll take it, But if I can do the same work for half that, then I think that'd be the better option. So I would suggest like either putting a range or just removing dollar amounts total, something like that. Because if we're evaluating a contractor for this, because like a request for proposal like this, we don't want to get into the low bid, trap that I feel like governments fall into all the time. If this is a request for proposal, we should be able to look at the qualifications of the contractor, what they're proposing, and then, once we pick somebody we think has a good plan, then we can work on the contract with them and get it down to a dollar amount we're all happy with.
I
Actually,
suggest we just delete that bullet point.
yeah. And the other
If-
thing
I
is,
agree.
the state law, as I understand it, that requires the lowest bidder excludes creative, engineering, and I think legal services. So we don't
Yeah,
have to worry about that.
If I could, we've had this discussion before with the full board and whether or not to put a price on it. And I think that one of the topics that came up from somebody that was kind of in the agency realm was that when you're bidding these types of contracts, sometimes you are better off putting that price on there because they felt like that you would get more of the creative side with them knowing what they have to work with. The edge to that is that we're not giving them $100,000 to do a pipeline. We're saying that this is about how much we're looking at. Anything that you propose is going to have to be approved anyway. So we're not going to spend, if they try to propose a couple TV ads for $100,000, that's not going to work.
I've seen them do it, even when
Yeah.
you tell them.
We don't have to accept that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think, like I think if we let people be creative, that You know, like Sarah Lynn said, like this is a creative thing, and if we're looking for people to be creative, I think not like trying to point them any direction or give them anything to work with makes people think outside the box more. That's just my, you know,
With
experience.
with some of the discussions, and we've kind of been putting fillers out there with some of the people
Mhm.
who kind of do this type of work. Their biggest thing is, well, we don't know what we have to work with. You know, I can propose you something that's $500,000. But if that's not in the ballpark of what you're looking for, then we wasted a bunch of our time.
There's another strategy to consider. I don't know if the city does it, MSD does it, but you first do an RFQ, a request for qualifications. Then you narrow it down because it doesn't take as much work.
Yep.
Then you narrow it down to the top 3. Then you give them some assignment like this and you pay them each a chunk of change, a small chunk of change to give you their best ideas with the agreement that you own the ideas regardless of whom you hire. You hire one of the 3 and you run with the best synthesist idea.
My understanding is that this process will allow us to do some of that, even with this RFP.
Okay.
And I think that that's some of the stuff that's in the boilerplate is that we're gonna filter out the ideas that are put forth out there, and then we're gonna take the time to come back and talk about it with you, and to see and flesh out what your idea is, to see if it fits with what we're doing. We don't have to accept any of the proposals if what we're looking for. So I think that this RFP does give us a lot of latitude to screen out and get us and have a discussion with some of the bidders.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's a good. I think like I'm happy to see that it's an RFP, not like a, you know, hey, give us a quote for services for these line items, because I just did that with a Metro bid that we were just awarded. That as soon as the, you know, paperwork was signed, we had to draft an amendment because they didn't include other things in that line item that they wanted us to provide. So, you know, so I think doing this is definitely the right way. And I mean, it makes sense to, you know, say, hey, we're looking for a project around this size. And that's why I suggested maybe a range instead of just, you know, not to exceed $100,000. Do, you know, 50 to 70, you know, to 125 or something like that to, you know, keep people in that range of what we're offering for. But if somebody's got a good proposal that is cost effective, maybe we can do it 2 years in a row instead of doing it once, you know.
Pete,
And
I understand. I understand your concern about being responsive to people that say we need to know what we've got to work with. But I think we need to keep in mind that's a purely self-interested question.
Mhm. Here's another idea. What if you, instead of said, you know, you're just giving them this cap, are we asking them for a proposed budget so we can see how much of the budget is media buy versus their time?
I'm thinking what you're saying is, would they have to itemize?
Yeah, because we might think
Absolutely.
they're really creative, but we don't want to spend that much on the media buy the first year, like what Ted's saying. So is there a place where you're asking them for the budget?
I think that there is.
yeah.
Well, in reality, this is not an IFB, and being an RFP, we can sort down to the top 3 candidates and then negotiate with them. And we may want more than what our limit is. We may be able to work with an amount less than what our $100,000 limit is. It's going to be based on the most complete and best bid and not the most cost-effective bid.
Bruce, what's an IFB or whatever you said?
Invitation for bid.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Request for proposal allows you to negotiate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think there should be something in there for like a detailed budget to include, you know, media buys and staff time.
Mhm.
I'm thinking that that is in there, Ked. It may be in part of the boilerplate.
Mhm.
We didn't put it in here, but that may be part of that boilerplate. But I agree with you that that needs to be there if it's not.
Yeah, we can check.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely, you know, definitely
So-
want to maximize our advertising buys and not paying them to come to meetings. That I'm working on another project that's a big pain point is they have 5 people that come to a Zoom meeting and they get a bill for several $1,000s for all those people that didn't talk during a meeting.
Absolutely.
So-
I know that reminded me, Ked, that there is or was a section in there that said anybody that works for this, we need to know who that person is and what their rate and how long they. So I do know that that stuff is probably in the boilerplate, or if we somehow lost that, we need to make sure that we put it back in. But I'm pretty sure it's in the boilerplate as just a part of Metro contracts in general.
I just want to make sure it's broken down into more than these 3 categories.
The evaluation criteria.
No, when they submit a budget, I would like,
Okay.
you know, the way, what I'm seeing, they could submit a number for staff and a number for the everything else, or, you know, they could submit the hourly rate, and then they could say, we'll do the project for X, you know, and even
wish I
if it
could pull
is
up-
on the boilerplate, I'd do it over, make it redundant, since they don't read the directions.
Pull up the boilerplate and go right to it, but you know, it's a bunch of pages and stuff. And
Yeah, you're right.
with understanding that intent, yes, we will make sure that, and maybe it is good idea to go ahead and make it redundant in the contract. Going back to the whether or not we put a range, a number, or an up to, or an approximate. I know that that was discussed at length at at one of the board meetings when we were considering a litter abatement education campaign. And the board went back and forth quite a bit on that. And I feel like that if we come to the board with this proposal, with that not in there, that question may arise again. And of course, at that point, it's up to the board on whether or not they want us to include it. So I think that, again, while we want to make this recommendation to that 109 board, they can, you know, they still have that ability to say, no, we want to add this, or we want to take that out. And it can certainly, when we present it, we can make sure that it is a topic that is considered.
I think the number being in the RFP gives them a guideline as to what scope of work that they can complete for that amount of money or less. If we find that we do not get product offering that's required by the board, we can always increase that dollar amount either in negotiations or by throwing out all of the proposals and re-advertising it. So I don't see that there's a problem leaving a number in there just to try to stay within the range.
You might put it in brackets, Pete, and just indicate that this is subject to the board discussion with the board or something like that.
Yeah. Because if you look at the scoring criteria, it doesn't say anything about what they charge for the work.
Yeah. I have never put a not to exceed number in an RFP.
I have.
Yeah, we're not putting a not to exceed, we're putting an approximate. By
Well,
the,
it does say that too.
It does say not
oh,
to
I'm
exceed.
sorry,
That's both.
it does say that. My apologies. Yeah,
Easy edit.
I agree. I think that the board needs to have a look at that. They're the ones with the, you know, that control the purse. So maybe they do want 100,000. We ain't gonna spend more than 100,000.
Well, you might just bracket it and put optional or something
Yeah,
just to attract their attention. but I still stand by not putting it in.
Does this system give any points if it is a WBE or an MBE or a locally owned company?
That's going to be in the standard contract language for Metro. You have to. I just went through this week, so I know. But like, you have to go through a whole series of documents and list all of the ethnicities and genders and of all your employees and
Yeah.
who the ownership is, stuff like that. So that's something Metro already captures. They require not affordable care plans, affirmative action plans, AAP. I was trying to say AARP.
There's a certain department that they have to register with.
Yeah, Human Resources Commission
Yeah.
with Metro.
They have to meet all of those requirements before they can even be considered.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have, not that I think this needs to be part of the document we're looking at, but do we have a list of recipients for this RFP or, potential recipients, preliminary recipients?
I was wondering that too.
I don't, although I know that there's people out there that would, want to bid on it. I would think that there's not a huge number of ad agencies in Louisville. But where it would go out, it goes out on the Metro's bidding page and, which is sent out. So we can identify and ensure that they are sent notification of this being out there. I think that that's smart to do. But is that what you're talking about? Do we have a list of people that potentially could bid on this?
Yes.
We don't. The short answer is no. We don't have a list of people
Okay.
at this time.
Well, if Metro's not prepared to help, I can think of a really good way, by way of the graphic arts department at U of L, to figure out who are the firms, because they hire all their graduates.
Yeah. The one thing we can get that list. I don't want to get into a position where I'm always a little bit concerned about putting some
Open records.
list and having somebody think that they got an unfair advantage.
Yeah,
We don't
Yep.
want that to happen.
Yep.
understand.
So, and that's the thing is, have you guys put out a bid through the new bonfire system, Pete?
We have.
Okay, yeah, because it is on my end, on the contractor side of things, it is considerably more confusing than it used to be, because you have to have a login, you have to have credentials, so there is a little bit of a barrier to entry for a non-common thing like this. Like, like think about like a demo or a construction bid where these companies are used to these government systems and state bids and things like that. Like for something like this, I don't think it's a common state bid thing. So I think it would behoove us to do a little legwork on the front end and have like I don't want to say a preferred vendor list, but like some sort of a distribution list, because it may go out into the void.
What we'll do, we always work with our purchasing department on this. I know enough this bidding, the RFPs and stuff to get myself in trouble. While we work with our department's assigned person at purchasing, and they help us through this entire process. So yeah, if we can, we'll tell them that how can we generate a preferred or a list and not get ourselves into a bind, then I think that, what you guys are saying is there's a benefit to doing that. It's up to us that we're going to go and work with our purchasing department to figure out how we can do it and do it right.
Good.
Does anyone want to see any more sections of this, or I can stop sharing it?
Is there any more additional discussion on this action item?
Did you say, Bruce?
Any additional discussion on this action item?
Oh.
Hearing none, are we comfortable in taking a vote on this action item tonight?
Yeah, as amended.
Yep, I think so.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move that we approve it as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Leonard and second by Mr. Stollard. Any additional discussion? Karen, would you do a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes. Meaning I say your name and you vote. Pat,
Yes.
I'm excited.
Bruce Burrow,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Sarah Lynn,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Marie F.,
Yes.
Sandra,
Yes.
and Marie Burnett, I think, is having audio problems, but if you want to throw a chat in there,
Or thumbs up or whatever.
yep. Give us a
Got to
wave.
quit moving around on the screen when we're trying to call your name.
I know. I was going in a line and I jumped around. I think I got everybody though.
I think you did.
We don't need Marie for a quorum, do we?
No.
We do not.
Hearing the vote, motion carries. Can you flip the agenda back up, Karen?
I'll try. Hold on. Wrong document. Wrong document. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes, activity reports for the subcommittees are next.
All right. Let's have a brief overview of the residential and C&D subcommittee.
Briefly, you've just looked at what we did at our last meeting. That's
Quite
pretty
a good lesson.
Thank you, Sandra.
He's not messing around.
Greg, do you want to give an overview of your committee's activities?
The one that we ended 15 minutes before this one, one of the things we're talking about is having a different time, but we clarified and expanded. I'm sorry, on the meeting minutes, we had a couple issues about what we were going to do or not do, so we didn't approve, and we're going to take care of that. Pete gave an update on meeting with the apartment association, and then JD Carey from the apartment association also talked about what they're doing. They have a pilot run with about 10 units. They have a total of 68,000 units, which I was very surprised at the volume of it. So this is a big deal. And they want to form a green subcommittee. And I mean, things are looking good with that. We don't have anything to finalize or report out, but I feel that there was some good progress being made.
Very good.
Anybody
Any
else want to add?
questions by the board members? Hearing none. Can we flip back to the agenda, Karen? Next item on the agenda, and before we get to this, I would like to possibly discuss another item that we may want to consider. I believe at the last advisory committee meeting, we had a presentation by the NWRA and by Andy Reynolds. Would the committee be opposed or be in favor of asking Andy to give that same presentation to the 109 board?
Remind me what it was about?
It was the NWRA's comments with regard to the recycling goals and the efforts being made and industry's input. and the assistance there, that they have available.
Actually, this is Sandra. I thought it was quite well done, and I think the board would benefit from it.
The board or the advisory committee?
We've heard it.
Exactly.
The advisory committee actually heard it at the last meeting.
Right.
I'm asking that it be put on the agenda for the 109 board.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps Pete could call Bob and get his thought on that before putting it on the agenda.
Bob who?
Schindler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll give him a
So
call.
many Bobs.
I'm sorry, Sarah Lynn. I made a leap there that I shouldn't have.
I won't tell Bob.
Well, there's just so many Bobs.
Okay.
Bob
Dude, I
Schindler.
can do so, Pat. I can do that, Pat.
Okay.
I honestly don't see any reason that they would not want to do that, but
I
I
think it's
don't
good.
either.
It's
I
good
don't
to bounce
either.
it
I
off
just
it.
think as a courtesy, I would check with Bob.
I agree with Pat. Yes.
Right. We'll move on to the recycle rate program funding.
Karen, do you want to take this? You want me to? It's under the 109 board. Well, I will, at the last advisory committee meeting, one of the things that we wanted to do was to be able to take the Recycle Right program to the 109 board for full funding and movement of the program. Does anybody need a recap of what the Recycle Right program was and is? With that being said, not said, the 109 board has approved for us to move into that implementation phase. And we have sent over our request to do to start the personnel part of this and the hiring. Not sure how long that will take them to get the completed JD that's final, although what is in there has been already looked at with HR. So for them to be able to get it to posted, once it's posted, we have to get our people vetted, interviewed, and hired. At that point, obviously, we still have a lot of material to develop. Maybe by the time that we get there, our vendor that we choose for our agency to help us get information out can actually help us design the papers, the tags. I think the tags are well done. They might not even have to, and I wouldn't slow down the program waiting for them. But we would be able to get our collateral printed and start our address list. And I know that they did approve the purchase of another vehicle, which was great. We're going to hope to get a plug-in hybrid, but I am not sure. Even if we put that order in now, it's going to be a long time before we get it. So, I guess in short, the board has approved it. We're ready to move forward. We thank the committee for all their support and getting this done. We truly believe that this is a program that can benefit all of the community and definitely reduce contamination in our recycling stream.
Pete, any comments or questions?
I have a comment, and that is that the visuals that you have shown us about this program to date is why nobody needed you to refresh us on it. That kind of stuff's powerful.
Yeah.
Any additional comments? Hearing none, thank you, Pete. Public input. Is there anyone wishing to be heard on items pertaining to the agenda?
I've got to check out, Pete. Apologies to the committee.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye, Pat.
Thank you.
Hearing no public input, announcements. Next 109 board meeting is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022, 5:30 to 7. Residential and C&D subcommittee is March 8th through to 3. And the ICISL Hall is March 16th, 3:15 to 4:15. Next advisory committee meeting, Wednesday, March 16th, from 4:30 to 6. I want to thank everybody for making themselves available to have this meeting. And thank you, Karen, for bringing the action item up and we got it voted through. So,
Thank you for chairing, Bruce.
with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Greg will make a motion to adjourn.
Sarah Lynn will second.
I have a second by who?
Sarah Lynn?
Carolyn, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
See you
Goodbye.
guys.